Flint Ridge, situated just east of Columbus, Ohio, is not just a site where ancient people dug for stone. No, not at all. It is far more than that. It's a vast, sprawling landscape where prehistoric people extracted a material that would play a vital role in their survival and prosperity for thousands of years. But what makes Flint Ridge truly remarkable is not just the stone, but what it represents. A window into a civilization that was connected in ways we have only begun to understand. Now, we know that flint was an incredibly important material in prehistoric North America. It was used for tools, weapons, and ceremonial items, but Flint Ridge is different. The quality of flint found here is extraordinary. Known as Flint Ridge Chert, it has a unique translucent quality with vibrant hues that range from creamy whites to deep reds and rich purples. This flint was not just valuable, it was highly prized. And it wasn't just the local tribes who knew this, tribes in our sense. Of course, they probably were a more cohesive collective unit as a society, if you will. They weren't really tribes, as we would call them. But evidence suggests that Flint Ridge's resources were traded across vast distances, which kind of plays into my whole social cohesion idea, right? But this Flint Ridge sourced from Ohio, was found in the Great Lakes region, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico region. And other items from these regions were also found within the region of which the Flint Ridge was coming from, the Ohio River Valley. This was, of course, no local resource to these other regions, right? The Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, like I said, this was sourced from Ohio. The quarry itself in Ohio stretches over several miles with thousands of mining pits, and you can go and see them for yourself if you go to the Flint Ridge State Park. You will see the vast mining pits, the channels, and the other tool marks that were left behind by the ancient hands that worked this ancient quarry of the ancient land in ancient Ohio. But it's not just the scale of these mining pits and this mining expedition that's impressive. The methods that the people used to extract the flint are really a testament to their engineering and their ingenuity. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of carefully carved channels and mining pits, sophisticated flint knapping techniques, and other tools that were not just functional but also finely crafted, objects of precision, if you will. And it's clear that this was not a random outpost or a simple camp. Flint Ridge was a sacred site, a place of great importance, a vital link, if you will, into the chain of human activity that stretched across the continent. But who exactly were these people who mined the Flint Ridge Chert? And how did they manage to connect so many diverse cultures across such vast distances? The answer lies in the complex networks of trade and cultural exchange that defined ancient North America. From the Hopewell culture to the Adena culture to the later Mississippian cultures, these people understood the value of materials like the Flint Ridge Chert. And they didn't just mine it, they also traded it, and they crafted it into tools and other ornaments, and of course exchanged it as a commodity, a form of currency, if you will. This was a fairly sophisticated economy, especially when you put into context the time of which this economy was thriving. And goods were exchanged not only for survival, but also likely for prestige, ritual, and social power. In fact, it's believed that the distribution of the Flint Ridge Chert was not limited to just the basic tools, of course. It likely played a role in the creation of ceremonial items, ceremonial knives, arrowheads, and other sacred objects that were integral to the spiritual and social structures of these ancient cultures. This Flint was more than just a stone. It was a symbol of connection, a bridge between the living and the spiritual world. And if you were to walk the quarries of the Flint Ridge National Park today, you would be standing in the midst of a landscape that was once alive with prehistoric activity. Imagine the scene. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people working the stone, shaping it with tools made from bone, antler, and wood. You might hear the rhythmic chipping of flint as it was napped into shape, and in the distance you might see smoke rising from the earth where ancient peoples gathered to share stories, trade goods, and pass on knowledge and ancient wisdom that was passed down from generation to generation. And yet, for all that we know about Flint Ridge here in Ohio, there is still much that we still don't truly understand. Who exactly were the first people to discover this precious material? How long and how far back did their knowledge of the quarry go back to their generations, to later generations? Did the quarries themselves hold sacred meaning, or were they simply utilitarian sites, centers of industry and commerce? Perhaps the most intriguing question of all is how the people of Flint Ridge fit into the larger story of ancient America abroad and really the ancient world. We often hear of the great civilizations of the Maya, the Aztecs, or the Inca, but these cultures were not only ones to leave their mark on the land. The Ohio Valley and Flint Ridge in particular is a key part of the puzzle. It's a reminder that North America's ancient history is much older, much more complex and more interconnected than we might have been led to believe. When we think of the ancient trade routes, we often think of the Silk Road, the great networks of the Old World and abroad. But here, in the heart of North America, we see something just as sophisticated, a vast, sprawling system of exchange that connected the peoples across vast distances. And at the center of this system, there was Flint Ridge, a quarry that was not just a source of stone, but a cultural and spiritual nexus that brought people together, shaped their lives, and bound them in ways that continue to fascinate us today. Now, of course, as with many ancient sites, the story of Flint Ridge is one of loss and rediscovery. Today, the quarry is a protected archaeological site. It is a protected archaeological site and state forest, for that matter. But it wasn't always this way. The land has seen its fair share of destruction from farming, mining, and urban development. Yet the memory of what was once there remains etched into the earth, still waiting to be uncovered. And so, as we stand here today on the edge of this vast mystery, we are left with more questions than answers, like most of the time when dealing with ancient history. Now, what other secrets does Flint Ridge potentially hold? What stories could potentially be buried beneath the surface, waiting for us to uncover? And how might this ancient quarry here in Ohio, the Flint Ridge Quarry with its beautiful translucent flint, help us reimagine the forgotten past of a continent that was once home to a vibrant, interconnected peoples? So what do you think? Could Flint Ridge be the key to unlocking even deeper mysteries of North America's ancient civilizations? Make sure to stay curious, stay open-minded, and remember, the past is always closer than we think. Until next time, it's been Doogie from Doogie's Earthworks. I love ya.